Hey guys! In this tutorial we will paint a forest scenery with two bears in painterly style. We will mostly use my free brand new Botanics Brushpack, which you can download in the video description below. You'll also find the bear stamps and color palette we will be using in the bundle. Have you seen my Patreon page? You can support me and access Patreon-only tutorials and brush sets in my growing Patreon community. You can check it out via the link below. Without any further delay, let's begin! I'll be working on a canvas that is 2000 by 2500 pixels. As always, before drawing, I will change the background color, picking this one from the middle of the first column. After that, I'll change the color into peach and go to my new brush set. Let's select Grass Blade Gouache. Set the brush size to max and opacity to around 85%. I will make these vertical strokes up and down and with a small angle, just as if we were making traditional painting. Keeping these borders around the canvas. I think it's the first time I start working from the background, but that's what we would also do in traditional painting. Let me make a few more strokes. And that's enough. Let's change the color into violet and paint on the left side like this, in the same manner. Then I'll continue painting on top, making these short strokes, and go down on the right side. If we lower the opacity of the brush and paint slightly on the borders between two colors, the brush will work as a blender. This way we can make these transitions softer. I will also paint at the bottom slightly. And after that, grab this creamy color to paint in the middle. Here we can increase the opacity back. I must say that it's been a while since I painted on paper with watercolor or gouache, and right now I almost feel like I'm holding a real brush and painting on a real canvas. Now let's lower the opacity to blend the colors a little on the borders. I'm not pressing on the pencil and making the strokes mostly vertical. Well, the background is ready. Let's create a new layer and grab this purple color at the bottom. I'll select Studio Pen from Inking Set, and we will draw a hill here at the bottom. The brush size is at 10%. I'm drawing like this from left to right. The lines don't have to be perfect here. I'll close the shape at the bottom and drag the color inside it. Now let's create a layer above and clip it. Pick the color from the first column and go back to gouache brush. I'll make the opacity 97% and brush size 30%. Start painting from top making these horizontal strokes. Then I'll paint here and add a spot on this side. After that, let's pick this yellow, lower the opacity to 80% and paint in the gaps on the left side, not pressing on the pencil, and making sketchy strokes like this. Now I'm switching to violet and painting on the right side of the hill. I'll also add this color here, lower the opacity to paint more. Let's make it even lower to blend this color with others. Finally, I'll grab this shade on top and paint more on this edge. Making a few strokes on the opposite side. That's it. Let's merge these two layers and create another one. I'll grab this blue on top, and in the new brush set, let's pick Foliage Modern. The size is at 10%. Opacity is at maximum. Let's draw a bush shape in this corner. Then pick green color on the right and paint over, mostly on the left side. Changing the color into this one and painting more on the left. We can lower the size here to 8%. The brush has subtle texture and also color dynamics, so you can make strokes until you like how the colors turned out. Let's try to add a darker shade of blue here to create some depth. Now let's pick this shade of green, create a new layer and select Flower Wreath number 3. This brush is dynamic and very pressure sensitive. I'll press once here. Well, let's make the size 19%, and here I will press on the pencil to make a bigger shape. I want to add some shading to these plants. For that, I'll grab this color at the bottom, create a layer above with a clipping mask, and select this texture shading one at the bottom of the brush set. The size is at 5%. And I'm painting on the right side, pressing more on the edges. Let's do the same on the second plant. I'll shade each element of this plant on the right and at the bottom. Make a couple of slight strokes on the left. Here as well. Let me darken this part a bit more. After that, We can merge the layers. And I'll adjust the position of these plants, like this. Now let's create a layer right above the background. I'm picking the first color from the palette and Studio Pen to draw a tree. I'll start from the trunk that'll go up this way. Let's add a branch on the side. Then continue. One more branch. Another one. Two branches on top. Let it go down from here. I will draw a branch on the left. And then finish the trunk. That'll have this curve at the bottom. I will adjust my lines, close the shape and fill it. Let me fix all the imperfections. This branch can be a little curvy. This one too. When the trunk is done, we should create a layer above it, for the foliage. I'll start with this dark blue, and I'll be using Foliage Painterly brush. Let's make the size 11% and paint a random shape on top. Then I'll make it 9% and draw a smaller shape over this branch. Let's make it even lower and paint foliage for this branch. And the last one. I will add more color here. After that, switch to green. Make the size a little bigger again and paint slightly on the left sides of each foliage shape. Alright, let's go lighter. And I'll add these two spots on top shape. Lowering the size to 5% and painting on the left side of the remaining shapes. That's because we assume the light is coming from the left. After that, I will create a layer above the trunk and clip it. Grab this violet and textured shading brush at the bottom. Let me make it 7% and try to paint slightly on the right side of the trunk. Okay, it's too big. I'll make it 3% and continue shading the bottom areas of the branches and right side of the tree trunk. Here I'll make it 6% and make the strokes downwards, not pressing too much. Now we should make the size very low, like 2%, to paint some details here. The right side is shaded. Let's pick this orange. The size is at 2%, and we can highlight some areas on the tree. I'll add it on top of this branch, then increase it to 3% and paint on the left side of the trunk. I'll make the size smaller again to add these details at the bottom, applying different amount of pressure. The tree is ready, but I'm not going to merge it yet. Instead, I'll select these 3 layers and group them. Let's duplicate this group and drag one of them to the left. Let's flip it, then switch to freeform and transform the tree to make it higher. And I'll place it like this. I'm going to the group to delete the shading layer, because as we defined earlier, we have light coming from the left side, so we need to change it. Before that, I'll go to the layer with foliage, pick this lighter shade of green, select same foliage brush we used for painting, and add this color on the left side of each shape. Alright, now we can shade the trunk on a new layer that is clipped. This time I'll select another shade of violet, but I'll be using same texture brush and paint with it on the right side of the tree. On the left side, I'll use same color for the highlight as we did on the first tree. Painting like this, not pressing too much. In the end, I will increase the size a bit and paint on the trunk like this. Then make it 2% and paint a line in the middle of the trunk. With this low brush size, I will highlight the left edge more. So the second tree is ready too. Now we can flatten both groups. Let's go to the tree on the right and duplicate it. Go to the layer below and move it to the left. I'll transform it in freeform mode. Stretch it up. Alright, I will place it like this. Then grab a eraser that is set to Studio Pen or monoline and erase the trunk on the sides to make it just straight. This way we are making this tree look a bit different. Now I'll duplicate this tree on the right again. And drag the layer underneath. I will also transform this tree and place it closer to the one on the left. You can make your own variations, just make sure that the highlighted side of the trunk is always on the left. Of course, it would be better if we painted all trees from scratch, because we can't duplicate anything in traditional art. But I just wanted to simplify the tutorial. I'll erase the trunk here too. And merge these two trees on the back. After that, go to Adjustments, Hue, Saturation, Brightness, select Layer, and I'll desaturate it to 30%. Also displace Hue slider towards blue to 54%. I would like to add a couple more trees on the background. For that, I'll pick this shade of blue. After that, I will create a layer and grass blade Pentile brush. The size is at 14%. Let's draw a trunk for pine tree. That will look like this. Now that we defined the height, we can toggle all layers to see better what we are drawing. I'll change the brush into pine tree branch. Make the size 8% and start painting a line from left to right. On the right side, it must be painted in the opposite direction. Then I'll paint the top, not pressing on the pencil, because the brush is very pressure sensitive and the size is getting bigger as you press. Let's continue adding branches on the sides of the trunk, making them of different length and thickness. And they are becoming bigger as going down. When drawing branches on the left side of the trunk, I'm making a stroke from left to right. and on the opposite side, vice versa. This tree is supposed to be located further, and it will be half covered by the foreground trees, so we'll keep it one color, without shading or highlighting. I'll adjust the branches to make the pine tree look natural. After that, I'll tap and hold here to bring back all layers. Let's drag this layer underneath. I'll also move it a bit to the right. Then duplicate it. Move this one to the left. We can try to flip it. If the angle changed, there's a way to rotate it a bit. Okay, let me move it a bit down. And the background is ready. Time to add main characters of our painting. This will be a family of bears. I'll first grab black color from the disk by double tapping. Create a new layer below these plants. Go to the set I created specially for this tutorial and pick the stamp of Mother Bear. I'll make the size 13% and tap here. Let me move it a bit to the left. We can scale and rotate it a bit to make it match with the shape of this hill. Alright, let's create a new layer for shading. That should be clipped. I'll start with this blue color on top. Go to Botanics and select Gouache Grass. I'm making opacity 87% and making strokes on the bear, following its shapes. I'm totally fine with using stamps in my tutorials, as I don't want them to be extremely long. I just don't like it when they look like stamps, so I always add shading or textures to them, to make them look natural and combine with the drawing. I will lower the opacity and size a little, to blend the colors inside the bear slightly. Okay, enough of this color. Let's change it into this one. And highlight top area of bear's back. I will make both size and opacity a bit lower to highlight this area. I will also add it on this foot. The light touches it slightly here. Let's highlight this leg too. I'll make the size even lower, like 2%, and full opacity. I'm painting like this. Then switch into eraser with same brush by tapping and holding the eraser, making it 2% and erasing it on the right side here. then on these areas slightly. Let's pick this blue and paint on black gaps. After that, grab this color on top and make a few strokes with it on certain areas, like this leg, also here, and on the snout. Lower the opacity and make some more strokes to blend the colors. Highlight this leg on top and here on the neck. Let me zoom it out to check the entire picture. Okay, Mother Bear is ready. We can add a baby. Let's merge these two layers, create a new layer, pick black color again, and baby bear stamp. Let's make it 9% and tap. I'll place it this way. And create a clipped layer for shading. I'll start with this color and select gouache brush. Making the size 14% and painting on the bear with these short sketchy strokes, keeping some gaps. I'm not pressing on the pencil. Let's reduce the opacity more, and I'll select this blue. Paint in the middle of the bear's shape. Making strokes in different directions. And for the highlight, I will pick this color. Increase the opacity slightly and lower the size. Highlight the nose at the bottom. Then this paw. And upper part of the back. To blend the colors a bit, we can lower the opacity and make more strokes. I think our baby bear is also done. Let's grab this light color in the middle. I'll merge these layers. Create a layer on top of all layers. Open the brush set for the tutorial and pick this ray of light. I'll tap in the middle of the canvas, click on this arrow, and here we can transform it according to the composition. I'll rotate it slightly, move it up like this, after that go to the layer to change its blending mode. Add looks too bright. overlay is what we need. I also want to blur it just a tiny bit, using Gaussian blur, around 6.8%. Select Eraser, set to Soft Brush, and erase it outside the painting. Then I'll create a layer above, select pure white color, and canvas texture that you can find in the set. I'm painting all over the canvas, and we should pick the most suitable blending mode for the layer. I'll keep Subtract, but since the painting got darker, we can lower the layer's opacity to around 30%. And you can do it according to your own taste and color of your painting. So after we applied this brush, it looks even more like a realistic oil or gouache painting. We have the last detail left to be added. It's the shadow coming from the bears. Let's pick this color, create a layer above the heel. Grab our gouache brush. Opacity is somewhere in the middle. And I'm making these strokes under the bear, like this. Let me make the size smaller and paint under the baby bear's feet. We can clip it to make the stroke stay within the heel shape. I'll paint more on this edge. And this is done. Let me try to make the opacity of the canvas texture a bit lower, maybe 27%. And now our painting with the bears is complete. If you enjoyed this tutorial, I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you share your drawing on Instagram, tag me in your post so I'll be able to see it. You can support me and access more content on my Patreon page. You'll find all links in the description to this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.